Good morning, afternoon, or evening, y'all, and welcome to the 11th day of the 12 days of vlogmas on my channel. We only have one more day to go. Today, we are going to be tier ranking all of the books I read this year so far. Granted, we still have like a week and some change left in the year, but I wanted to do this anyway because odds are I will at most be getting like 3 more books read. So, okay, so let's just get started. The first book I read this year was The Graham Effect. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I did think that the twist at the end was fairly predictable, so I'm going to put it at didn't love but recommend. Addicted to You, I would honestly say this is one of my top reads of the year. I loved this book. It absolutely shattered me, but in the best way possible. Kind of the way I feel about Magnolia Parks. This was actually the most recent book I read, 7 Year Slip. I loved this. I honestly am going to put this in one of my top reads of the year because this was one of the first romance books in months to actually make me feel like it went on a deeper level, and I loved the way she incorporated magic into this book. Next one, Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. I didn't love this, but I would recommend it. It is the second in the Ernest Cunningham murder mysteries. I really enjoyed the first one much more, but this was very good and I didn't predict the ending at all. This one, Shifted. I am gonna put a not the best, not the worst. I read this because of a snippet I saw of it on TikTok, and that's all I'm gonna say about that, really. Hellbent. I loved this. I think it was extraordinary, the perfect follow-up from Ninth House, and I'm so excited for the last book to come out. Good Girl, Bad Blood. I didn't love, but I would recommend this. I definitely predicted the ending on this one. I was excited to see where it would lead in the next book, but we'll get into that in a second. Funny Feelings. Didn't love, would still recommend. Very cute, single dad romance. I really enjoyed this. They were both in love with each other the entire time and didn't realize it. Fake dating. He's her manager. Very good. Dixon Rule. Again, didn't love, but I would recommend. It was the follow-up to The Graham Effect. I enjoyed this. It needs a trigger warning at the front of it for domestic violence, and it bothered me that it didn't have one. Six of Crows. I'm honestly gonna put this in. I haven't shut up about it. I loved this book so much. The amount of anxiety and the depth I felt for this book was so good. All of the characters, all of the romances. Kaz, oh my gosh, I love him so much. The Hating Game. Didn't love but would recommend. I read this in a day. I greatly enjoyed it, but again, it just didn't go on a deeper level, and she talked about how small she was constantly, and it got on my nerves. Mixed Signals. Didn't love, would recommend. I honestly can't even remember what this book was about, but I know that I enjoyed it. In the Weeds, again, didn't love but would recommend, in the same series as Mixed Signals. This book was a one night stand romance with an influencer and a small town guy. It was very cute, but again, it was fine. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Didn't love but would recommend. I enjoyed this greatly, especially after seeing the show. I thought it paired very well with it, and I thought it was very good. Next one. Truth Game. Not the best, not the worst. This is the first in the Ocean Bay series by Chloe Walsh. It was a step-sibling romance, kind of weird, but I enjoyed it. The next books in the series, however, Waiting Game and Endgame. I honestly may have even put those books in the wrong order, but I did not enjoy those. I read them just because I wanted to find out what would happen. I did not enjoy them. There were so many grammatical errors in those books, and they were both exceedingly short. Like, they could have been in one book. I honestly felt like it was really stupid to split it into two different books. A Court of Mist and Fury. This was a reread, and I haven't shut up about this. This series is one of my favorite series of all time for a reason. I loved rereading that and being back in that world. The Dare by Elle Kennedy. So sorry. I wish I never picked it up. It talked about her weight and her eating habits so much in the first 10% that I literally put it down and never picked it back up. The Mistake. I'm gonna put all of these at didn't love but recommend because I honestly could not tell you what they are about. I mean, I could give you a vague description, but it might not even be about the right book because I read these all back to back to back, and so they kind of all just meshed. I do enjoy the series though. Night Shift. Wish I never picked it up. Talked about this in one of my last sit down videos. This book was 50% smut, and the only reason I finished it was because I thought that there was going to be another conflict coming. There was not. Boys of Brayshaw High. Wish I never picked it up. Again, talked about this in a recent video. Got weird, got like a little bit polyamorous. Didn't really enjoy that, so I put it down and never picked it back up. Carrie Soto is back. I'm gonna put this in top reads of the year. I rated this 5 stars. I adored this book so much. I just don't think it hit the caliber of I Haven't Shut Up About It. The audiobook was exceptional though. Ninth House. Again, top reads of the year. I also rated this 5 stars. The back of the book, I have wanted to read this book for years, but the back of the book was so confusing that I literally just never picked it up. It's worth picking up. A River Enchanted. I loved this. I'm gonna put it in one of my top reads of the year. I thought this book was extraordinary, and it was just so interesting to see the way that the elemental spirits worked, and I'm very excited to read A Fire Endless in 2025. Next one, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. I didn't love, but I'd still recommend. I finished this because I wanted to watch the new season when it came out. It was good. I don't really know what else to say about it, but yeah, it was good. Practice Makes Perfect. Again, didn't love, but would still recommend. I enjoyed this very much. It was a fake dating, like, bad boy kind of romance. It was good. Yours Truly. Didn't love, but would still recommend. Her mentioning Mr. Darcy in this book immediately had me. I honestly read Part of Your World in order to get to this book. I actually ended up liking Part of Your World more than this book because the tropes were a little overplayed for me, but I did very much so enjoy it and enjoy the way that they loved each other. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. Not the best, not the worst. Just a simple little YA romance. Part of Your World. One of my top reads of the year. I loved this so much. Small town romance. Kind of on a farm, I think. He has like a baby goat, and it was just such a good book. It was such a good book. Top read. Thursday Murder Club. I'm gonna put in didn't love but would recommend. I really enjoyed this book. I wouldn't put it in one of my top reads of the year though. This was a kind of only murders in the building style murder mystery, and I always appreciate in murder mysteries when there is more than one murder. That happened in this. It's also a bunch of people in a nursing home trying to solve a murder, which I just thought was honestly hilarious, and I very much enjoyed it. Both Beach Read. and Happy Place are going in top reads of the year. I love these books so much. Augustus Everett has my whole heart, but I do like Happy Place more, I would say, because the way that the timeline worked felt very special to me, and it reminded me of 500 Days of Summer, which is one of my favorite romance movies of all time. Alex Approximately. Not the best, not the worst. I did not love this. Actually, I'm gonna put it in did not enjoy. The conflict was so stupid that it kind of ruined the whole book for me. Scarlet. I didn't love, but would still recommend. I really enjoyed this. It was the second, I believe, book in the Lunar Chronicles series. I also read Cress. Both of them were very good. I'm always going to eat up a fairy tale retelling, and that's what those are. Love Theoretically. One of my top reads of the year. I loved this book so much, and the way that Jack, I believe his name is, taught her to ask for what she wanted. Pride and Prejudice. I have not shut up about it. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this book for hours. The way that it affected me was so profound, and it definitely changed my entire taste in romance books, and I honestly think that is why romance books have not been hitting as hard as they normally are, because that is the epitome of what a romance book should be, and almost like literally nothing else can compare to it to me. Throttled by Lauren Asher. Didn't love, but would recommend. It's an F1 romance, I think, and it was her like brother's enemy kind of romance. It was cute though. Love and Luck. Not the best, not the worst. Just a YA romance that was available on the library app, so I decided to pick it up. What Happens After Midnight. Not the best, not the worst. Again, just a palate cleanser YA romance. Super easy read, very easily digestible. Okay, the next three. The entire 50 Shades of Grey series. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in not the best, not the worst, because I did not fully read these books. What I mean by that is I read them solely for the plot. I skipped over any of the Red Room stuff because, quite frankly, I didn't give a I loved the plot though. Like, if we were just rating on plot, these books would be like 4.5, almost 5 stars. But we're not. We're rating the entire book, and so I'm going to put it in not the best, not the worst, because I didn't care to read the smut part of it. Next, we have Praise. This romance, I very surprisingly very much enjoyed. It is a ex's dad romance. It is kind of iconic, I'm not gonna lie, but it is wildly inappropriate at certain parts, and she starts working at a, like, I honestly don't even know what it's called, but it was very interesting and I enjoyed it greatly. Next one, we have Girl Abroad. I really enjoyed this. This book had a love triangle where one of the male love interests was in a relationship, and I was very worried that cheating would end up happening, and I definitely think there was some emotional cheating that happened, but if this girl had let the line cross, I would have definitely DNF'd this, but she didn't. She was very respectful, and I very much appreciated that. Dirty Laundry. I did not enjoy this book. This was a mystery I read at the beginning of this year, and I so greatly wished that this girl had a more satisfying death, and she didn't. It was so anticlimactic, and I was like, I waited this entire book for this. It was just such a letdown. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. This was absolutely one of my top reads of the year. I loved this book. It was so unexpectedly funny. It constantly broke the fourth wall and spoke directly to the reader. It was just such a good book, and the way it came full circle was incredible. Next, we have Puck Happens. Not the best, not the worst. Again, I read this because of a like snippet of it on TikTok. It was just a cute little ice skater hockey romance, and that's the most I can say about it. Magnolia Park's a long way home. This was a reread. I obviously have to put it in Haven't Shut Up About It because that is one of my favorite series of all time. I reread it in anticipation for Magnolia Park's Into the Dark coming out. Spoiler alert, I still haven't read Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I'm so incredibly scared to read that book and read the confrontation between Julian and Magnolia because I am such a Julian stan. It'll break my heart and I don't want to read it. Next, wait for it. This was absolutely one of my top reads of the year. I loved this book. I think it was done perfectly. I love Mariana Zapata's books and her slow burns. They're just so exceptionally good, and the children in this book also sealed the deal for me. They were just so cute and I enjoyed it so much. Checkmate by Ali Hazelwood. Didn't love, but would still recommend. I'm not gonna lie, this was almost super highly rated by me. I really enjoyed this book. It just didn't hit like it should. It was very cute though, and I greatly enjoyed the chess aspect of it. It kind of reminded me of The Queen's Gambit, which is such a good TV show on Netflix. The Undercover Bromance. This I didn't love but would recommend. I'm gonna put both of those books in there. The Undercover Bromance, which is the second book in the series, I honestly and truly think I may have rated it 5 stars if I physically read it, but I listened to the audiobook. However, now that I have distance from the book, I can see that it definitely wasn't perfect, and if I read it now, I definitely wouldn't give it 5 stars. Rock Bottom Girl. I didn't love but would recommend. This was such a cute romance. I really enjoy Lucy Score's work, and this book was no exception. I think it was just such a good read and I adored it. If you guys watched my 10 best and 10 worst reads for this year, you already know where this book is going. Things I Wanted to Say by Monica Murphy. Wish I never picked it up. This is the worst book I had ever read, and it romanticized sexual assault that made me so wildly uncomfortable that I literally read the entire book in one night because I needed to see how the hell she could redeem these characters, and she didn't. They were literally the worst people on the entire planet to me, and I'm never gonna read another book by her ever. Next one, Sable Peak. Didn't love but would recommend. This is the conclusion to the, oh my god, what is this called? The Eden series. I greatly appreciated the fact that they gave the FMC time to recover from her trauma in the previous book till her romance happened, because I was very worried it would just jump into a romance, and I was like, this girl like is super traumatized and is in no place to fall in love right now. So I greatly enjoyed that, and Mateo was so cute and I loved him so much. My Life with the Walter Boys. I did not enjoy this. It was so cheesy, and I am like 95% certain that this book was a Wattpad romance before it was traditionally published. So granted, I shouldn't have been expecting literature, but it was bad. And the ending really pissed me off because I wanted to know more. Like, where you can't just leave it there, and it greatly aggravated me, but it was a cute little like romance. Savage Lover. I didn't love but would recommend. I believe this is third book in this series by Sophie Lark. I don't remember what the series is called, but it was good. That's all I really can say about it, because I don't really remember much of it at all. This entire series, I don't remember what it's called, by MJ Hendricks, Kissing Friends, Seeing Double, Falling for Temptation, and Seducing the Saint are all going to go into not the best, not the worst. These are books I binged when trying to get out of a reading slump in the beginning of the year, and it worked. Got me out of a reading slump, but they weren't great. They were just like little fun books. Swift and Saddled. Didn't love, but would still recommend. I enjoyed this. It was a small town ranch romance. It was cute. I just ultimately wanted Gus's book more, so I think that's kind of what made it not as enjoyable of an experience for me. And then I reread Done and Dusted, which I'm gonna put in top reads of the year because I rated it 5 stars when I originally read it, and I still think it's an incredible book. Last one, Kingdom of the Wicked. Wish I never picked it up. I did not enjoy that, so much so that I put it down. I don't know why I couldn't stand it, but I couldn't, and that's all I'm really gonna say about that. So that is how I feel about all of the books I read this year. I hope you all are having an absolutely extraordinary morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the final day of the 12 days of Vlogmas on my channel. Bye guys.